Well, I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me. I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells like Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Want to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Master the Art of Connecting and professional speaker Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on the planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have the president of the Luxus Group, a luxury real estate private equity group specializing in the acquisition, building, and management of recreational properties around the world. Listeners, we will provide a link for you to click on these properties because they are spectacular. Currently managing over 34 properties with a value in excess of $150 million in real estate, located in 6 different countries. With a passion for lifestyle investing and an appreciation of creating memorable holiday experiences, we got a special guest for you today. Thrive Loud listeners, I bring you Stephen Petasky. Stephen, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for the nice intro, and great to see you here on Zoom. And thank you for having me on your show. This is fantastic. I appreciate it.
So listeners are going to like this episode because we are going to some fun places in this conversation. Yes. And we'll get to the meat and potatoes behind the Luxus Group, what Stephen's about. But we're going to start things off. We need to give the listeners a little bit of a catch up here.
Sure.
Stephen, if you could share with the listeners kind of how this thing you're doing right now became your gig.
Yeah, no problem. It's an interesting story because it just comes out of I guess I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I won't go way back to how that all started. About 15 years ago, this month, as a matter of fact, we're celebrating our 15th anniversary as an organization, which is super exciting. And what it was just a problem my family and I were having. I think like a lot of entrepreneurial journeys start, and we just tried to solve that problem. And the problem we had is we had a child. And so,
wait a minute, hold on. That's not a problem. It's a life change.
they totally get in our program. They change everything about how you do things. So crazy with kids. But no, in all sincerity, we had our son. He was born February 2007, Cash, and it changed our lives in such a wonderful, meaningful way. But one way that it did change is we love travel as a family. And my wife was a journalist, and I was busy in another entrepreneurial career, and we loved to travel. That was our way to reconnect as a family. Obviously, it was just the two of us until Cass joined the picture, and then soon after, his sister, our daughter, Allegra. And but travel changes, obviously. So for us at the time, we were doing hotels. We didn't have a lot of money, but we tried to stay in the upper scale where we could. We might do the odd vacation rental. Stay with my parents at their second home. Basically, we got a little sampling of it all. But what we did know is we liked, at the end of the day, was consistency and familiarity. And especially when you have a child, you want that because you already have enough uncertainty trying to wrestle an alligator in an airplane for 7 hours to Hawaii to get there and be uncertain with what you have. So we were saying, well, what could we do that could help this next chapter of our lives? And we ruled a few things out. We realized hotels weren't a fit anymore because we tried it. You have a baby in the hotel room, just totally changes the whole awesomeness of a hotel room. It's not quite the same. We didn't have the money for a second home, but we also didn't necessarily want it if we had it. We didn't want the restriction that came along with having just one home because we're still young and want to see the world. And the third thing that kind of fills most of the buckets is, vacation renting. Now, 15 years ago, it wasn't nearly as mature of industry as it is today. It was basically Vrbo or VRBO. Airbnb didn't even exist. It didn't start till a year later, as a matter of fact. And but it was inconsistent. Like back then, it was really the pictures that you saw online were not the pictures you got in reality. So with that all said, we said, what would be amazing? And we just fantasized as the kind of dreamers that we are. And wouldn't it be amazing if we had a portfolio of second homes around the world that we could travel to as a family? And then we have consistency, we have the size requirements we need, we have the equity ownership, we have all the things. And it was a great dream, but we didn't obviously have, $35 million in our pocket to buy 30 homes. But we had about $100,000 and we thought, what if we found about 20 friends and we did this together as a collective, effectively a syndicate. And that was the founding of Luxus. We actually went out and begged, borrowed, stole from specifically 18 friends and family. My wife and I were one of the 18. My parents were one of the 18. And then we had 16 other friends and family. And we raised $3.5 million and we bought our first 3 homes. And we bought one in Maui, one in Phoenix, and one in interior British Columbia, kind of like wine country, lake country.
Okay. So these homes, and I guess you guys are buying them outright.
Yep.
In what we'll call a timeshare like type thing, right? I want to use those words.
Yeah, very carefully. We'll
very
come back
carefully.
To that timeshare word.
And obviously at that point, split amongst all the people that invested there.
Correct.
How did that work?
So the big thing was, I think sharing of homes has existed forever, obviously, and it's generally been in timeshares, but timeshare doesn't, as you know, own equity, you own a deeded interest of time, but you have no capital appreciation. And with obviously the very high commissions attached to timeshares, that's what gets the negative connotation where you buy a $100,000 thing and it's worth $50,000 the day you walk out of the Mexican sales office. Not to knock it, but that's, timeshares aren't all bad, but Mexico kind of gave it a bad name because that's where most people got hit financially. Fractional has been a little more recent in time and it's gotten a little more sophisticated around 15 years ago. It's obviously even better now. We actually own a deeded interest of a singular property. So that was a form of ownership, but it was actually owning bricks and mortar, but through an ownership of a single property. We took a hybrid approach. We actually launched a fund and everyone invested into this fund and that fund owned the real estate. So effectively you were a percentage owner of the fund, which then owned the real estate outright. So the mechanics of it were very unique to the industry at the time. There are, several now, but we were one of the very early adopters and grew to become the biggest of our kind through kind of last, 7 to 10 years. And the resulting was we owned, every time we added capital to the fund, we could then acquire more assets under the fund. So you might have, let's say a 1% interest in a $30 million fund for $300,000, but you're a 1% owner now of the 30 homes in the fund. So you benefit from the diversification of the portfolio, like all the things you would think about in the case of a diversified portfolio, but functionally that's how it happened. The whole organization of vacations and everything is a whole different story. Well, I'm sure we'll come to that, but that was the mechanics of the deal.
Okay. So that's the mechanics of the ownership of the deal.
Yep.
Talk to me the mechanics of managing and operating the properties in the deal.
Well, if you asked me 15 years ago, we were selling all this in coffee shops. We didn't have this office here, an amazing team on the other side of that wall. It was, again, I'm honestly a dreamer. I always have been. And I think I used to shy away from that feeling like that was something that was maybe bad, but now I realize those dreams have, the goal of them have been good intentions to help people live a better travel life, better experience. We've done this all very quietly. I never did podcasts, never did social media. It was all just kind of one-on-one basis, but the intentions were pure, create a better lifestyle for families. And so at the time I said, well, I'm going to have this concierge team and this asset management team and this online booking software. And all my friends are like, I don't know if I totally believe you, but you are super passionate. I'm going to bet on you. And they bet on us, which was obviously very humbling at the time. And I was 27 at the time when we launched Luxus. And we then built the team one at a time. We hired a team member from Fairmont Hotels and Resorts to build the hospitality. We hired an asset manager. Then we could afford an accountant. And then we just grew, to eventually over 100 million of real estate in that particular fund. And we ended up having 20 people servicing the experiences, the concierge, the travel agents, the asset management, the whole works. And the dream without many bumps along the road, but it did come to fruition, which is very exciting.
Take a snapshot. I gave it at the beginning, but it'll be more fun to hear it from you. Give a snapshot of what it looks like today, the size of the organization and the number of properties and where these things are. Yeah.
Okay. So a snapshot today is we kind of had like 2 iterations of our last 15 years. We're going into like a 3rd iteration. So think of like 7-year increments. The first 7 years was all around that. We call it co-ownership because it's not technically fractional and it's definitely not timeshare, but a co-ownership. We're effectively co-owning these homes with a group of people. So what you think of that as the term. So we co-owned collectively, I think we peaked at 50 homes, averaged between $700,000 to $5 million, depending upon where the asset was or the property. As you mentioned before, 6 different countries. We had a lot in US, Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, Caribbean, Italy. As our only dive into Europe. And we were doing I think we probably peaked at maybe 5,000 vacations a year. So we were just cranking. Like it was our co-owners were traveling, and we had this concierge team that they're in behind this wall here, that every day they help those experiences become the best they could possibly be. So that was iteration one. And that carries on. It's smaller now. COVID hit us, to be perfectly honest. It's not been all sunshine and roses.
We'll get to. I want to put a pin on that because I've got a question in that direction. But
we'll come back to that part after. That business has taken a bit of a hit, but it's we're in it for the long game, so we're okay to kind of slow play a positive outcome. The second iteration is we were meeting all these amazing people around the world, landowners, sales brokers, developers, architects. But when we were buying assets, they fell in a very specific box, recreational focused, apartment, condo, home, they didn't fall in these other things. So we thought, wouldn't it be great, dreaming again, to launch a developments division? Maybe we could build some of our own product, both for ourselves and other industry like-minded companies, and for other homeowners or just regular buyers. It was a very unique concept. The concept was built around resort residential. Now that obviously exists everywhere, but we did it specifically that people could allow STRs or short-term rentals. So effectively Airbnb. And these weren't really built very well back then. Most Airbnbs were done illegally, and they still are now. There's a lot of regulation. Yeah. We can come back to that later. You put that in the parking lot, but it's changed dramatically. But we were building these communities. So we built three. We started a single home and a 3-home community in Rancho Mirage, California. So Palm Springs, state home, kind of $3 million each. And then we did a 17-home community in the Big Island of Hawaii. And that, be perfectly honest, almost put us down. It was a very, very difficult project. Lots of, again, ups and downs. It got built. It's award-winning. It's beautiful. It's stunning. But it with all this gray hair came as a result of that. Not my kids, nothing else. Is that project?
At least you have the hair. That's all I can say. Okay.
Fair enough. And then the third place we started to get really kind of wild is we acquired a ruin in central Tuscany, Siena, Tuscany, and we restored that ruin to become a luxury estate. And we did that on a fractional basis as well. And that was the kickoff to Luxus Developments. And then if I fast forward 7 years to now, we now have some pretty meaningful projects going on the Luxus Development side. The Italy division I just got back from is COVID. It's kind of caught some COVID tailwinds. We have a number of projects on the go. We have a hotel in Mexico, a Marriott that we're building, a beachfront, and we have a very large project starting in Las Vegas. So it's been a wild ride. The next 7 years are going to be very interesting for sure for our third iteration.
And that's a perfect segue. And before I get to what the future here looks like, I want to help our listeners understand this.
Yes,
okay,
please.
So yourself or the people who also are buying. Yeah. Are you getting on vacation? I guess my question is, obviously you started off with an initial group of people who were getting a share and using it when they could on the management side of it. And you've been growing to get more people to invest and go in and use these vacations for where they're at. How busy is that? How busy is that today? Today is what I want to focus on. Yeah.
So you're talking the first group, to kind of the first, the co-ownership basis?
Yeah.
So great question. So it was, the good thing about the model is it's really, because you had a fixed amount of time based on how much equity you participate in the fund. So it really forced you to take vacations, to plan ahead. And what you gave up in terms of flexibility, because you're sharing these assets with other families, you gained an experience, because you never had to guess what the experience was when you entered a home. The linens that were there, the wine glasses that are there, the TV technology was there. So that was amazing. Like, we had such consistent travel for 13 years. You could do it like clockwork. We know a percentage of utilization of every home, every destination, every per night stay, everything. And then COVID hit and it went to zero. And in Canada, the majority of our clients on that side of the business are Canadian, like 99.9%. Like, we have a couple of people who have just moved to the United States, but effectively they're all Canadian. And Canada has been under some quite strict border protocols the last couple of years. So we went to zero overnight. And fortunately, our business model allowed us to stay alive and keep the lights on, because it's people pay their annual due. They're partners. They're not like a golf membership. They're partners, and they have an obligation to pay. And we never had to chase money once from anyone, which is great, even when they weren't traveling. So we had a year and a half. It was bad. I'd be honest, like, I feel like a positive guy. It was a down, crappy time. Like, you didn't know when it was going to fire back up. You could try to put on a brave face, but it just sucked.
Well, you're in the travel business, in the vacation hospitality business during a time where there is no vacation and hospitality. So no, definitely not a good point. Let alone, you're right. I have many friends, colleagues who are north of the border of here in the States, and absolutely a much stricter, longer, more protective environment with that.
Correct.
Which now brings me to the fun part. Okay.
All right.
The fun part is that while we'll never be rid of COVID, it's certainly not nearly as dangerous as it's been, and things have opened up tremendously. Most notably, the real estate market, which has been an absolute rocket ship since COVID exploded. Let's talk about that aspect of your business, because I can imagine from the time that you said you started this, and the dips and drops and ups and downs of the real estate market, where we are today might also have painted a prettier picture than the operation component and the travel execution piece of what Lux is going through. Share with the listeners.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably been certainly one of the bright lights, because at least with our clients unable to travel or unable to travel fluidly the way they used to travel, at least we know there's been appreciation built up on the portfolio. So they are traveling now. We're at a point now where we have to upsize our team, because now we're booked like at 100% capacity for the next 2 years, kind of this COVID backlog. Everyone wants to travel. But for that year and a half, when it was like, well, I can't travel, well, at least the portfolio is getting some value gains, which has been tremendous. So I think that's been a saving grace a little bit. If real estate values were down and you're paying your dues and you can't travel, I mean, that's what it was for the first 6 to 9 months, but then it obviously changed the fall of 2020. And then the second part of our business, the development side, I mean, that part's been really positive. We didn't have anything we were really selling at the time. Like, we weren't lucky where we started something 3 years ago and it was like the perfect timing to sell everything off, but we had a lot of stuff in the works. And now those things in the works will kind of bear fruits 2, 3, 4 years down the road, but we're a couple of years ahead of a lot of other similar projects. So that's definitely, I mean, the market's changing now, obviously, and it has to, like, things have to slow down, because you won't be able to build anything, with the way that COVID supply chain issues are. So I'm okay with the slowdown. We want a soft landing, not a hard landing.
Crashing landing.
Yeah, we don't want a crash landing.
It depends which side of the fence you're on and where you are in the market. You might want something different, but totally understood. Yes.
Yeah.
Stephen, thank you for that. And now I've got something that I skipped over in the beginning, but this is really crazy. You started this whole puppy at 27 years old. Yeah. And there must have been a decision at some point to initially start this initiative, but then to continue leading it. One, from creating an investment fund idea to then it being this unbelievable operational business that you've had. One, does it make you shake your head? And two, I want to rewind a little bit. Tell me when the point was saying, this is what I want to do.
You know what? Thanks for asking. I feel like I didn't know what I wanted to do, in the sense that all I knew is I loved entrepreneurship. I loved trying to help people solve problems. I loved working hard, and I loved taking risks. And I think they all combine well for, I guess, an entrepreneurial mindset. And so what I always knew I wanted to do, like the one core purpose though of all of it, this goes back to like as a teenager, where you could talk to my high school buddies. I used to organize houseboat trips when I was like 17, 18 years old, because I wanted people to have fun on the journey. And for me, if I'm not having fun personally on the journey and my clients aren't having fun on the journey, then we're just not going to do the journey. We'll just change. And that's been, for me, whatever we started. That's why a lot of people ask, well, how do you do ruins in Tuscany? And then you have a hotel here, and then you have the co-ownership here. And we have a fishing lodge, which I'm going up tomorrow, which is just my favorite place. It's amazing. Like, why all these different things? The core purpose is helping people live a better life through travel, and making things that generally have unbelievable high barriers to entry and making them accessible to more people. So that started with 18 people in 2007, but now it's hundreds of people around the world. And so fortunately, not every business makes money. Not everything has been perfect, of course. But I know that we've created value experientially for every person who's participated, and that's been positive.
Okay. And thank you for taking that segue back in time here, because I was curious to know where that goes. All right. I'm going to save the looking forward question for the end of the program here, because I want to ask this question as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as an innovator. Look what you've done in the last 15 years. Congratulations on the anniversary. You truly have taken a vacation problem from your child to something that's turned into an amazing business, which means on most days you are thriving. But we all have those days when we're a little off our game and we're not quite kicking on all cylinders.
Yep. Yep.
Stephen Petasky, when you have trouble thriving, what practice do you seek, or maybe which individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
It's a great point. I've had a lot of those ups and downs as all entrepreneurs have. For me, I think the number one thing for me is getting my energy back. If I feel like generally there's always problems, no matter what business you're in, there's problems that need to be solving every single day. And that's just part of every entrepreneurial journey. And our business is thriving in some part and struggling here and there, but it's all an opportunity to improve. When I get down personally, and I do, and it's again generally a quite positive guy, but there's times where you're like, how am I going to get through it? I generally recenter myself around just improving my energy. Now, when I say energy, I think used for the context of like physical and mental energy. So how's my diet? How's my exercise? What can I do to buy my energy back? I really love health, biohacking, just because I think your brain's like, well, it's the most powerful supercomputer in the known universe. And when it's not operating at top capacity, I'm down. Like I'm emotionally down. I'm not the best leader for my team. I'm not the best dad for my kids. And so if I just focus on that for a while, which comes down, that's a whole different podcast, but it's sleep, diet, exercise, all the things, a little biohacking here and there. All of a sudden my energy comes back and you feel like you can take the world on again. And I've had many of those low points on the journey. And I've tried to just muscle through, embrace the suck, which I think you have to embrace. But I embrace it through a very specific practice of getting my physical, mental energy back. And then I can, by doing, and that's hard. Like that is embracing the suck. It can be really difficult to be that disciplined, especially during COVID. There's a little more booze around the house. You're having a cocktail. It's kind of a tough time. And then, you know what, you bounce back and then you can use that energy for, what your core purpose is.
Love it. Let's do the admin part of the show, Fun Street, and then we'll put a nice bow on this episode. Perfect. For Luxus here. Share with the listeners all the places people can learn, find out, see whatever promotion things are going on for the Luxus Group. We'll put it all in the show notes, but it gets way more engagement when they hear it from you.
There's really, honestly, one thing that would, if any one of your listeners is looking for value, free value, complimentary for us, is go to our YouTube. So at the Luxus Group on YouTube. And I just started a YouTube channel a few months ago. I have not really promoted. This is like one of my first promotions to kind of share it. The YouTube channel was specifically what I mentioned before. How can we help more people live better travel, real estate investing lives? And so it's just 10 to 20 to 30 minute snippets of me blabbing about things that I've learned over the years in terms of that type of that business. And so it would mean, and truly the world to me, if someone went on there, subscribed, and gave us some feedback on the show. That's not my normal comfort level, just to hop on a camera and fire off 30 minutes about investing in real estate in Hawaii or whatever we talk about at the time. But for me, that would be the most impactful for sure. I am on Instagram at Stephen Petasky. I don't do a lot of it, so don't expect any like profound, moments on Instagram, at least at this point in my journey. And then our website is luxusgroup.com. So I didn't reference what Luxus was. I always like to do it because people think it's a spin-off Lexus. It's actually Luxus is the Latin word for luxury.
Oh,
so we launched it. We hired a naming company that kind of helped us come up with it. So I wish I'd say it's my brainchild. It's not. Someone smarter than me. But Luxus Vacation Properties, the luxury group, like that was where Luxus came from. So go to luxusgroup.com and you'll be connected to our developments office, our fishing lodge, our Italy office, and I do have an office in New York, by the way. So I was just there a couple of weeks ago, but maybe we'll connect in person sometime. But
well, we're going to have to. We could have done an in-person show.
I know.
I just am catching you. I'm in South Florida at this point because yes. I just decided June was an ideal time to go sit in the heat in 95-degree weather.
Perfect time.
Humidity.
Exactly.
It's lovely. I don't have to worry about bad hair days. Stephen, you ready to go down Fun Street with me here?
Sounds awesome. Let's do it.
All right. Let's share with the listeners maybe what's one of the more memorable movies that you've seen in your life or would love to see again.
Hi, good one. You know what? I saw Top Gun on the weekend. I got to say that was pretty good. That's just good.
Top Gun Maverick. Okay. First of all, you're the first person I've had to talk about on the show since I saw it. I saw it 2 nights ago.
Know what? It was good, but I wouldn't say it was. Well, listen, I would watch that probably 10 more times. It was a great show. But if I think about more like a legacy show, one I actually like a lot, my kids and I watched it together, and I've watched it probably like 10 times, is The Greatest Showman.
Oh, it's so good.
And The soundtrack, it's all about like dreams coming alive, entrepreneurial risk, crash and burn, bring it back up. I admire the actors, Hugh Jackman stuff for like the talent they bring. I'm going to give that one a shout out because you watch it. It's like, I feel like it's maybe not a mirror of our journey, but it is the risk taking of the big dreamers, and then realize sometimes, what you have is not necessarily good enough, but you can make it better. So I'll give you that one. That one was a good one.
It's a classic and a phenomenal soundtrack. We'll give you that.
Phenomenal soundtrack.
We're going to do the speed round here on Fun Street. Here's how it rolls on Thrive.
Go.
I'm going to ask you something. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. These
Perfect.
are things that lift you up, motivate you, make you feel good. They basically make you thrive. Okay.
Yeah.
He's already ready, by the way. He's like raring to go here. He's like,
let's do it.
Okay. Of late, like recently, a song that you've been listening to that pumps you up or you like to hear.
Tim McGraw, Humble and Kind.
Oh, I love that tune. That's a good one.
So good.
A favorite food that is not a dessert.
Peachy pasta, specific type of pasta.
I already know it. I know it.
Oh, you know it. You got
it. P-I-C-C. Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah,
it's like very tightly wound, straight. So I'm with you.
Thicker. It's a great noodle. No eggs, just like wheat. And it's great.
Peachy pasta. A favorite dessert.
Favorite dessert, plain, like ice cream, either frozen yogurt ice cream and just like smothered in berries.
Ooh, any type of berry specifically you like? What kind of berries? What's your berry?
Just any berry. Just douse it. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries, just ice cream and berries. That's my go-to. It's like a sundae, really. But
an activity you wish you did more of.
Good one. First thing comes up, mountain biking. I really loved mountain biking growing up, and I've as I get older and the body's not as strong as it was, I feel like I crave that one a little bit. Every time I get out, I have a good time, so I need to do that a bit more.
He still looks so much younger than me, so I don't know this old thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Get out on that mountain bike more often.
Maybe it's the fear of falling and smashing my head on the ground like I used to.
There you go. An activity you wish you did less of.
Less. I would say. Oh gosh, less time in airplanes. I love travel, but I spent a lot of time in airplanes. I wish there was a way you could hyperlink to these places around the world, and that would make my life a little bit easier.
You will love
too much time in airports.
The beam me up, Scotty thing is what I'm all about. I don't care about my particles being mixed around. I totally. I'll be the test case. If I could snap my fingers, and this is a good question for somebody who's traveled and been all the places in the world. If you could be anywhere in the world when I snap my fingers, Stephen, where are you?
I'm at Ina Lake Lodge. So I'm actually going there tomorrow, and that's our fishing lodge in Northern Canada. People I get the question all the time, favorite spot, Hawaii, Costa Rica, Italy, and they're all amazing. But for me personally, when I'm solo or with my, whoever's enjoying me with it, it's a very special place in the world. Go to that one. Actually, for the listeners, if anyone has a desire for the outdoors, Ina Lake Lodge. It's so special. It's unbelievable.
We'll do a quick drop on the site for that.
Thank you.
Last thing to bring this home, which I said I would end the show with here. You mentioned to the future of Luxus Group over the next 7 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. Give me the vision of what you see for the company and where it's headed as we roll through the 2020s.
Well, I think for us, it's increasing our reach and our impact. I mean, it's what that looks like is it's in play. We have a couple of really unique things we're working on right now that could, the YouTube channel is kind of a starting point on the free content, but we are going to have some products and stuff that potentially could reach a greater number of people. And so take our 15 years of experience and help people travel better at just a different scale. So it's something we're playing with right now that's I'm pretty excited about. And it's going to be a big thing if we can get it going, and it's going to be a lot of work, but all great things are on the other side of hard work.
Stephen Petasky. He's the Luxus Group. Everybody's going to check out all the links. He's got really cool hair, by the way, for those who get to see some of the podcasts.
He's got a haircut.
He does. He looks good. You got a good barber or who's ever taking care of you there. Thanks so much for coming to the show. Hey, these properties look great. Continued success for you, and enjoy the bumps and ride in this lovely real estate market we're encountering. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Lou. Thanks for an awesome show. Thanks for doing what you're doing, putting people, giving all this great content to people means a lot. Thank you.
You got it, my friend. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.